Hey everyone, today I'll be reviewing my new MOC, Stormer 4.0 Reimagined. This is what the actual Stormer 4.0 set looked like. This MOC took me about 8 hours to build, and he's upwards of 400 pieces. He's definitely been one of the most challenging builds I've ever done, just because some of the angles, like that one in specific, were very hard to get just right to where they wouldn't really move around. Before the actual detailed review, I'll go ahead and start off with a size comparison. To kickstart this size comparison, I'll go ahead and put Surge 2.0 right there. As you can see, Stormer's quite a bit taller, probably around 3.5 inches, maybe 4 inches taller, and probably twice as broad as Surge, so that's quite a difference. And here's Split Face up to Stormer. As you can see, they're basically the same height. I think Split Face might have a little bit of height on Stormer, maybe like a millimeter. But as you can see, they're both very big MOCs, especially when compared to a 2.0 set. Now that you've had a size comparison, we can go ahead and get into the detailed review. The legs took only an hour to build, and I think they look good despite the fact that they only took an hour. Usually the leg design takes me maybe 2 or almost 3 sometimes, just depending on the MOC and how I want it to look. One of my favorite parts of this build is definitely the use of Stormer 5.0's helmet as a knee pad. I used 6 of these Bionicle armor plate pieces on his legs, 3 on each leg. But besides that, I don't think I used any of them on his body. I used those like half-dome Lego pieces to create kind of a transition between the lower leg and the upper leg. Those pieces are so good for doing that because they just cover a decent amount of space. And also they kind of look cool as knee armor. The back of the legs really aren't that detailed. I did use a spike piece on the back of each leg just to give a little bit of extra detailing. Besides that, there's not really much I can point out on his legs. Now moving on to his arms. They took me about maybe an hour and a half of the build time. They were rather tricky just because I was running out of white near the end of the build, and so I kind of had to improvise, and I made the arms probably less detailed than they should be. His sword is barely different than Stormer 4.0's actual sword. It just has a little handle that goes all the way down, and also it has the 3 guards on each side. And I don't think those actually serve any tactical advantage. I think they could stop a sword from hitting your hand. But besides that, I don't really think they would give you an offensive advantage. Maybe just the fact that the sword's a little higher up and a little longer. You might notice the discoloration on this sword, and that's just due to the fact that the attachment point right there broke a while back, and so I had to glue that back together, and so that's why there's a little bit of miscoloration. You might notice that the drones don't have their stickers, and that's just because when I was young I liked to take the stickers off, and nowadays I'm only left with 2 drones that actually have stickers. So the 2 drones with stickers are put on his shoulders, and so that probably bugs you just as much as it bugs me. I hope it doesn't, because it almost makes this MOC a lot lamer just because the stickers are off. The gun arm took me about 45 minutes to an hour to make. The gun is a lot longer than I originally anticipated it would be, and so I had to give it a double connection point right there to his upper arm, and then I put a little rig back here to connect to the upper arm just because it was really heavy. So I used a Bionicle foot piece to attach that. And so the biceps are built a little bit different, as you can see, just because this one's a little wider. I really like how the body looks, just all the different flaps that come off. I think they look really good. The core looks really cool to me, how it's kind of framed up by all the different flaps. These 2 flaps on either side of his head are really cool. They actually stay in place pretty well because this spike piece goes into a little bit of a ridge that little white piece has, and so that keeps it from wobbling, and also this rubber band keeps it in place pretty nicely. I like the use of the Lego pieces on either side, just with the vents. I think it looks really cool. If you remember Stormer 4.0, half of his body was actually silver. He had a big silver armor plate, and so I kept that design choice and just put a lot of silver techniques. I like the transition between the white and the silver. I think that looks really good too. I put 2 kind of exhaust ports on either side just because they look cool. You might notice the blue wires, they run all the way to the back and connect back there into almost just like shoulder blades. I really like the use of this Bionicle foot piece. I think it looks really cool back here. And that Bionicle armor plate piece, I've pointed this out many times that that's like my overall favorite Bionicle armor plate piece, and so I try to incorporate one in every build. I used more of those exhaust port pieces up there just to give a little extra detailing. Now those are actually just Lego wheel pieces, but they just kind of look like exhaust when you put them on a MOC. Overall, this is definitely probably one of my strongest MOCs that I've ever built. I just really like how he looks. And he was very challenging, but I think he's worked out overall. Just his design looks really good. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd say that's definitely enough of me rambling on about Stormer. So I just have one last thing to say. If you don't know what I'm currently doing with my channel, I'm doing a series called 4.0 Reimagined, and that's where I'm remaking every set from 4.0 in my own style, just improving upon the designs and trying to make them look as cool as possible. I've already built 14 MOCs. I believe 13 of them are reviewed. And so if you'd like to see the reviews of the other 4.0 Reimagined MOCs, I'll put all the links in the description. And thanks for watching.